All right, everyone, thank you for joining the webinar. I'm going to make sure this works. To start, I wanted to do an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The area that we're in is the city of Yarra, and it stands on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. So today we're going to spend about 15 minutes covering our latest community satisfaction index. This is the second year that we've done this, and we want to go through some of the results with you. And then we've got a great lineup of speakers who will bring in and start having a conversation about customer satisfaction, why it matters, things that are good, things that are bad, things that we can learn from each other. And then we'll take questions from the audience. If you do have a question, please put it down in the chat and the team will pick it up and either respond to you or we'll take it on notice and come back to you a little bit later. So let's just go over what the CSI, Community Satisfaction Index, is. It's a national benchmark of council performance across service delivery, responsiveness, communication, and overall satisfaction. We take two powerful data sources. One is the real-time customer ratings that you all receive via the Snap Send Solve app. So that's after someone's done a snap, put through a snap, we'll ask them, we'll prompt them for some ratings information. Typically 10 to 15% of reports get rated. And then we also do a large survey of our snappers who may or may not have actually done a snap in the previous year, but we ask them a couple of questions about their experience in the community, how they feel it's going, and we take those two pieces of data and we put them together to build the index. It is very comprehensive. It covers 96% of the metro population and 90% of all Australians, and we are trying to provide actionable insights which highlight the strengths and improvement areas and the residents' top priorities that will help inform council strategy. And we are aiming to do this on an annual basis. So this is our second year, as I just noted. So the data that we've used, we've got over 250,000 ratings for nearly 100,000 residents. And then, as I said, we did a large-scale survey to over 17,000 residents who responded to it, and we've taken those two pieces of information and put them together. And I guess just to pull out the four key insights. So overall, residents across Australia are less satisfied than councils this year than last. It's only one point something percent, so it's not a huge movement. Customers continue to be concerned about the speed and the effectiveness of councils' responses to issues raised. And we see in the data that the councils who do respond more quickly and more promptly, and even if it's not about, hey, we've fixed the problem, tend to get better scores. The scores of all states and territories, the average scores have declined. And as I said, the councils who perform the best are those who engage closely with residents to act to resolve issues quickly. So here are the numbers for the country. So the average for the country was 59.6 out of 100. So that was 1.7% lower than last year. And you can see that the best performing state was South Australia at 61.2. Followed by Western Australia and Tassie, sort of second and third, followed by the Northern Territory, followed by Victoria, and then New South Wales and ACT. So when you see the scores that I'm about to show up, you can benchmark them against the average for each state. So the top 10 ranked councils nationally: Maroondah City Council, City of Melville, City of Mandurah, City of Whitehorse, City of Marion, City of Boroondara, City of Port Adelaide Ironfeld, Camden Council, Manningham Council, and Randwick Council. You can see those scores. The lowest score in the top 10 was 64.8. Then we've also highlighted the most improved councils. And so here's the list. So Townsville City Council has improved 7.1%. City of Casey, City of Boroondara, City of Marion, Knox City Council, West Tamar Council, Whittlesea Council, Maroondah City Council, Newcastle City Council, and City of Port Phillip. We also talk about the fastest growing categories and the volume of snaps that were received in Australia. And for the last financial year, there were 1.7 million snaps. You can see that roads and signage continues to be a big problem, up 27%. Water and sewerage issues up 26%. Abandoned trolleys continues to grow, as does rubbish and bins at 23%. So these are pretty typical, and you would, as working for council, you would understand that these are the key issues that the community submit. We're going to be releasing the index tomorrow. We've got a microsite that we've built which will give you access to, and we will then also provide before we get to that, we'll also provide a custom briefing for each council that requests it, where we will go through your data in more detail and pull out any insights that are relevant. And so without further ado, and I think the reason we're here today is to hear from some really interesting panelists, definitely not me. So we've got three panelists. We've got Kristen Desmont, who's the CEO of West Tamar Council. We've got Peter Gainsford, who is the GM of Inner West Council. And we've got Tisha Peterson, who is the General Manager of Customer Information at Logan City Council. So an amazing representation of the different sorts of councils we have in Australia. From memory, Logan have got over 300,000 people. Inner West have about 200,000 people. And I think West Tamar have about 25,000 people. So it'll be really interesting to hear their insights. And we will put this up at the end, but if you want a full breakdown, please just scan that QR code and that'll send us a form, and we'll get all that ready for you. So I think without further ado, I might get Molly to bring in our panelists. Hi.
Hi.
Feel bad. They were sitting in the background and had to listen to me. Better to have them here talking, explaining why they're doing such a good job. So maybe we'll start with Peter. Maybe just a quick intro, who you are, what you do, and your background. I think that'll be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Thanks, everyone. Hi, I'm Peter Gainsford. I'm the General Manager, or as we call in New South Wales, General Manager is the CEO of the Inner West Council. We're in the Metro Sydney area, right adjacent to the City of Sydney. So, as Danny said, population of 200,000, and I've been in this role for a bit over 5 years, and we've had a strong focus over that period on the customer experience.
Great. Maybe Kristen?
Hi everyone, Kristen Desmond. I am the CEO of West Tamar Council. We sit right alongside Launceston City Council in the northern part of Tasmania. I've been in this role 3 years, and similar to Peter, really focused on making sure that we hear what our customers say. For us, we're a much smaller council. We've got about 26,000 residents, and so when you're in those smaller rural kind of councils, your community certainly lets you know what's going on, and we are out and about and can touch those people in many different points, in many different ways every day. So this kind of customer focus is really important for us.
Thanks, Kristen. Tisha?
So I'm Customer and Information Manager, General Manager at Logan City Council. We're about nudging 400,000 people now. We grow very, very quickly, one of the fastest growing councils in southeast Queensland. And it's a really diverse council, really diverse LGA. We have over 270 languages spoken in the LGA. So customer service, customer experience for us is quite a big challenge, and we need to meet the customer wherever they are.
Great. So I'll get started in a sec, but one of the things I didn't talk about in my slides is the gap between the best performing and the worst performing councils in terms of the score. And the gap across Australia is about 16 points. So there really is a big difference between the best and the worst councils. And I think that usually comes from the managers and the people leading the organisation. So I'd love to start with you, Peter, and just understand why you think customer satisfaction matters and how whether your approach to that has shifted since you've been in the role.
Yeah, it certainly has. So we know that the satisfaction is really a great indicator of how we're delivering our services. And more importantly, it's a reflection of trust. And when you think this is a considerable issue across all tiers of government, we know that local government is the most trusted level of government because it's the closest to the people. So we'd had a bit of work on the back end of COVID. We really wanted to improve the quality of our customer service, and that was a priority for the councillors as well. So we went to we revisited our values and all good things that good organisations do, but we had an overarching purpose that we did at Inner West Council, where we say we are here to be of service to our local community and make the Inner West a great place to be because we're ultimate placemakers. But when you think we are here to be of service and make sure that permeates through every role within the organisation, and that's working quite well. And we've made improvements over that time, the last few years, in the quality of our customer service. Accessibility, we do, I know other councils do, we could call it a roadshow, but it's a local matters forum. So we take all the senior exec out once a month to the community face-to-face, and we've got a few extra mobile face-to-face custom service stalls that go around in highly visible locations on top of all the digital stuff. But at the heart, we know that customer satisfaction is about trust. And when the community is satisfied, we know that it's improving the performance across the organisation and the satisfaction with our community.
That's great. And just a follow up from me, was that how hard has it been to get the whole organisation focused on customer?
No, look, it's a lot of work, but I think that with the commitment, we did a strategy and worked across the organisation. I think it's work in progress. I'm not going to say that any organisation is perfect, and we weren't in the top 10 in Australia, as you saw, but we continually strive to do it. But it's something that you just keep reinforcing. And I think if you're going to be in local government, the key is you need to be great at dealing with your community and great at customer service. So I wouldn't say that it's a difficult task because people are here in government to serve the community, but I think that we need, in local government, and we need to keep focusing on it. It needs to be ongoing improvements.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Kristen, I might ask you the same question. Tell me about why customer experience, why customer satisfaction matters, and how has the shift been over the last period in getting the organisation to be focused on the customer?
Look, I think our organisation has been focused on the customer. Now, we've got 26,000 people, but we have quite an interesting municipality in that we've got urban sitting alongside City of Launceston, and then we've got rural. We've got high disadvantage, low disadvantage. It's really quite interesting. And what works for people in a urban setting, what works for people in a rural setting are two very different things. And for us, it's about how do we make sure that we are servicing our members of our community in a way that works for them. So you would have heard Tisha say we meet people where they are. We're very similar, but only because we've got some really remote things. So sometimes people expect us to be able to go and fix that pothole or grade that road straight away, and we don't have the capability of doing that straight away.
Yeah.
So for us, the focus was our community understood that we were trying to do things well, but we didn't communicate well why. So it's about focusing on levels of service. We might get a notification in that says the road needs to be graded. We send someone out, have a look, but their response might be, it's programmed to happen in a month's time. We've looked at it. We're not going to be doing it now. We're going to be doing it in a month's time. And then we check back in a month's time to make sure that it's happened. So for us, the customer service journey is about doing what we say we're going to do. And again, we've got those touch points. We go out into the rural parts of our community. They have no problem telling us what's going on. Our councillors and myself, Tasmania is pretty small, so you can run into someone at the supermarket who'll tell you where the pothole is and whether it's been fixed or not. So for us, it's also partially about technology, but again, I think the theme will be here the same. It's about the people. It's about saying to them what's important to them. And for us, often people say customer service is the front desk when they walk into your office. For us, customer service and how people view our municipalities when they drive past that line where they say, welcome to our municipality, and they see the roads are in good shape, the parks are in good shape. That's part of it. And the customer service for our people is really about making sure that we make our municipality shine and that we're meeting the expectations of our customers. And our customers in our community seem to get higher and higher expectations. And what we're finding is, whilst we may not be able to do it straight away, communication's been the key for us, closing the loop for our communities and our community members who come and talk to us and ask us to do things. Whether we can do it or can't do it, it's how we communicate it. And that's been the bit we've really focused on over the last few years.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it's a point I've made over and over again. One of the things that we ask is, how was the communication? And I think, as you say, Kristen, it's not about, hey, I can fix the problem tomorrow. It's like, we've got the problem. Thanks for letting us know, and we will fix it in, whatever it is. I think that is so critical and such a good point to put out to the audience today. Tisha, I have to say, everywhere Tisha goes, the councils get a great result. We've worked with Tisha in a few roles, in a few different councils, and every single one of them, from Townsville to Wollongong to now Logan, seems to appear in the top 10 lists all of a sudden. So maybe Tisha's the secret sauce.
I think it's really similar to what's been said. It's a trust issue. So we ask people to let us into their homes, into their streets, into their businesses, into their neighbourhoods, and we ask them to trust us to look after them. And so councils are really great at measuring volumes and cost and timeframes and what happens internally. But customer satisfaction allows us to go out and say to the customer, do you feel heard? Was the process simple? Where do we need to improve? And if we can build that trust in the day-to-day, we can build that trust in disaster. So you can imagine in Queensland, we're often faced with flooding or with cyclones, and we need the council area to trust us during that time. So we need to build that trust throughout the day-to-day in there. I think the other thing that we have, you asked the question earlier about how do you get a business to think about the customer in there every day. This has been a really good part for us in using Snaps and Solve or pushing people to feel more comfortable to use online. When we talk about removing the front door, if we can still have a great satisfaction by people potentially not ever having any contact with customer service, but they feel really satisfied because we promised what we said we were going to do and we do that all the way through, that's one of the great ways we've been able to embed good satisfaction across the entire business by making it simple for the employee as well as making it simple for the customer.
Yeah, that's right. I think they're all really good points. So my next question is really and I don't know if this is a long enough period, but if you sort of reflect from 26, 25 and maybe back to 24, can you sort of name some of the things that you've seen that has the community has expected that's been new about the way you've the way you deliver customer experience and customer service? Like what are the step changes that have happened that have made you more focused on it as an organisation? Peter, we might just keep going around the circle.
Yep. As we always say within local government, I think the community expectations continually arise and evolve, and the issue is it's about the competition with other service providers, even and outside of local government. So banks, retailers, other digital service providers. So everyone wants a simple online service provider, particularly younger demographics, self-service options, and just timely updates without having to follow up council. So we've worked hard on responding to improve all the things across the digital service provider. That includes we've enhanced and updated our website. We've integrated Snaps and Solve this year. We had Snaps and Solve for a while, but we've just done the integration, and that's had significant improvements straight away in terms of improvements in reduction in response times and satisfaction in that channel. And that's becoming a popular digital channel for us. We've rationalised on the back of that, our customer request processes and improved our communication throughout the customer journey. So I think the result for us is a much better customer experience.
Can I ask, and maybe each of you, I'm just interested, what percentage of customer requests now come through digital channels versus phone and in person? Do you have a sense of that, Peter?
About 40% digitally.
Right.
Is us. I know 40% of the SnapSend Solve make up our online, all of our online requests.
Right.
Is 40% is SnapSend Solve, and we've been a bit static with our customer getting to digital and getting people to move across from the traditional phone call system. That's been static for a number of years.
Have you got any, just to pick on that, have you got any idea why that is? Why you can't get the people who want to ring up council to move into an online digital setting?
We've only just done I think it's on the back of the digital side of things. When I say we've upgraded our website, that had significant improvements in terms of making things better remotely digitally, because our old website didn't really respond and react well to a mobile devices.
Right.
So I think we'll see that step change in the next 12 months on the back of our website changes and the work that we've done with SnapSend Solve integration.
Okay, great. Kristen?
Look, for us, I think I talked before about communication. That's been the key for us as we've moved forward. We've also done some integration this year and seen some difference, because what our staff were noticing was we weren't closing stuff out. So people had come in, they'd ask for it, but they'd never get a response as to what happened with that. And so for us, it was being really about closing the loop, closing that communication loop for people and resetting expectations, because as the others have talked about, expectations get higher and higher, but we've got a limited budget and a limited ability to be able to go and make stuff happen straight away. So we worked really hard on closing the gap and talking about service standards so that people start to understand what that service standard looks like. Mm-hmm. But for us, it's also trying to understand, we've got a rural community, some of whom are well connected telecommunication-wise, some of whom live in big black spots and can't actually SnapSend Solve from where they are because that digital becomes difficult. And we also have an ageing population. So for us, there's a level of complexity that comes to what's the best way to be able to meet people where they are. We've got a percentage of young people who want to absolutely use digital access. We've got a percentage of old people who will never use it. And we've got this group in the middle who are starting to embrace it. And the difference for us in terms of moving people across to digital has been experience. So if they have a good experience, they'll use it and they'll tell a friend. If they have a bad experience, they just give up. And so we've seen that with our regional roadshows where we talk about, SnapSend Solve is a really easy way to come into council so we can act on it and we can see it. And what we've had in the last 12 months that we haven't had previously is where people have said, well, I used it, but I gave up because I wasn't getting any communication. We then had other people in the room going, but we've used it recently and it's great because communication loop is closed. So we've been able to actually measure the difference that's being made. But really for us, it's about resetting expectations and being able to do that through communication. We'll also always look for efficiencies where we can. But again, we've got a very long municipality, rural and non-rural, and it becomes really difficult for a one-size-fits-all answer.
Yeah, that's great. And just same question I asked Peter. What's your split from if you know digital versus phone in person?
Look, I don't have the exact split. I'd say it's fairly similar to Peter, but we will have seen a marked increase in digital over the last 12 months. In fact, I think we've seen a 14% increase in digital over the last 12 months. And that'll continue to go up now that people are getting the right experience from it. And that's the key. Anywhere we go now, and we talk about this particular way of dealing with things, we have more people on top of more people saying that's the way they're going to do it. So
Yeah.
The problem for us is not so much the technology, it's having access to mobile phone towers that allow you to do it in the area that you're in.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very different problem to, what's happening at Logan and in the West. Tisha?
Community expectations, wow, they have changed a lot. Even in the 9 years I've been working in local government, it's really increased quite a lot. And I think during COVID, it went even higher. And we can see now, particularly in this area, it's interesting, we have a much higher rate of renters. And so we're not just focused on ratepayers, but we're focused on community and renters, and they have a totally different expectation of what services they need compared to what a ratepayer might also see and what they need. We've really focused those expectations into choice. So ensuring that everyone has a choice to contact us in the way that suits them. And so that has been a really big growth for us. And we've had a couple of complex layers in there as well. We have a very strong push to become an AI first business. And so it's probably easy to turn that tech on, but to get that prep ready about, do we have our knowledge bases ready? Have we gone out to the business to stop as much reactive work as we can, to push that reactive work and those responses into the front line so that we don't have to disturb the people doing the actual doing and delivery, and allowing the proactive work just to happen. And that's where it's been really good for us to make things as simple, as accessible as we can, and go through the entire journey. So not just stop at the front door, go all the way through until we close it out about where can we remove some of the pain, how can we make it as easy as we possibly can, so that that satisfaction driver is almost invisible to the customer, but really shows through in the satisfaction score, because people didn't have to think about it as much. They want their lives to be simple and accessible and to just happen. So we're really focused on the whole journey in there.
It's great. I might just stick with you for the moment, Tisha, because I just wanted to talk on it. This is on notice. You've got some councillors who are very, very vocal on socials about Snap Send Solve. Paul Jackson in particular. And so a more broad question about how does that councillor influence council when you're thinking about the customer experience challenge?
It's interesting because we've never actually, not to break your heart, Danny, never done anything to push Snap Send Solve as a council, but our councillors certainly have. And so you've seen in our numbers, we've had extraordinary growth. We double nearly every year with Snap Send Solve in the growth of the requests. And that's simply from the councillors pushing it through and getting their communities onto it. I'm pretty sure they have a quiet competition on whose Snapper squad is better and more active with that. And so that's had a really good effect for us, because it means that the community is instant. Like if they see it, they can report it, they can choose in the moment to be part of it and to be part of the solution. And it's similar to what we talked about before about customers start to push that themselves about just snap it. And so don't whinge about it, don't complain about it, just go snap it, and they'll fix it in there. That probably made internally people a little bit nervous, because what if we get 100 duplicates? So by the time you introduce that brilliant duplication notification software, whoever designed that was a genius. That was really great for us. And so we were able to push it more and more, knowing we wouldn't overwhelm the business with a whole lot of additional work.
Thank you. Peter, I might go to you. I'd be interested in how the councillors influence councils, the way council works with, things about customer experience. And then I think it's worth just touching on like what Tisha said. Like there is definitely hesitation out there. If we promote Snap Send Solve, we're going to get inundated with these requests. So I'm interested to hear about how you think about that, how you thought about that, and what the reality is.
Well, we obviously wanted to see when we did the integration what change will be, and it's been overwhelmingly positive across all channels. So responsiveness improved. Yes, we've had an increase in requests, but we're responding to them quick enough. We've done some work at the back end where we've integrated, particularly if you look at a lot of the requests that everyone gets across all, it's a lot to do with waste. So we're focused on streamlining our missed bins, for argument's sake, is streamlined with the staff, and it's automated and goes directly to the crews and they can action it off. So some of that bread and butter stuff we're doing quickly. So with Snap Send Solve, it hasn't created any particular problems. It's actually improved across the board. I do have some good news. It goes to show that I don't know everything, and I'm happy to say that I check with our digital experience staff. We'd actually hovered about 65% digital for some time, and the last couple of months, and at the latest stage, gone up to 74%.
Wow.
So
good.
Probably
well done.
Danny didn't pay me to say that too.
I definitely did. That's great. That's a real-time update. Yeah. That's great, Peter. And what about, so just on that, what about councillors? Are they active in the community promoting stuff? Yeah.
We have quite an active group of councillors that are connected to the community. I'd say that's been traditional in the inner west politics, very close to the community and listens to feedback. So they've been very supportive of the Snap Send Solve. And as I said, we've been visible. We've been putting QR codes around. We've done our facilities, our toilets, public toilets to start with, but we're pushing out and putting them on bins and things like that to promote those requests. That's been work. The councillors are very supportive of our digital strategy in terms of customer service to really push it, and they've had a lot of support from that. This is all on the back of a customer experience strategy that we did back in 2024. We've implemented a number of those actions, but that was all led and pushed from the councillors as well to improve that experience. And you can see, again, with the overall trust in the community, it's very vital that we do this customer experience really well.
Great. Kristen?
So our councillors are certainly behind it. So we see certainly on social media, if people are saying, well, what about this? They'll go, well, have you gone to Snap Send Solve and done that? Because if they're already on the digital platform, then they will do that. So, from our perspective, councillors are certainly very much behind it. And in terms of being concerned about volume, no. So I guess from our point of view, the more we hear from our community, the more we know what we need to be doing. So from my perspective, it tells me something. So if we suddenly got inundated with a whole heap of stuff that we weren't aware of before, that points to a different problem that we have in the organisation. And we're small enough that if something like that popped up that we went across, I'd be concerned about how other parts of the organisation are working. So for us, it's more about, we've got a pretty good understanding of what will come in and the volume that will come in. And if it changes from that, then something else has shifted in our community. So in fact, the customer service part of this is really important to highlighting potentially other issues that we've got within the organisation or patches that we're not looking after the way that we should be. It brings up actually level of service issues that we can deal with in a different way. So this kind of stuff is really important, because if we get overwhelmed, and we haven't been, but if we get overwhelmed, it sends us a message. The community is sending us a clear message about where our level of service is standing in certain areas. And I go back to that communication of us truly listening to what they're telling us and then being able to adjust as quickly as we can to make sure that we're meeting some of those expectations, or if we can't, try and understand why we can't and have that broader conversation to see whether we actually need to change some settings or not.
All right, well, I'm conscious of time. I guess I want to sort of start wrapping up, and I guess I just wanted to give you an open floor and maybe talk about what advice, as I talked about, there's a big range of councils that are doing really well. All of you are included in that, and those that are got not as good scores. If you were talking to those councils, what would you tell them? And we start at Peter again.
Thanks. I'll start with anything by listening to your customers and your staff, and listen to that customer experience journey from all the different personas that you have. And we spent a fair amount of time when we developed our strategy and having focus groups and working out what frustrates customers, than assuming that we already knew the answers. And we know what our high transaction requests are, but it's also where the frustration and pain points are. And that really became how we developed the strategy itself. So measure all the way through, and then we need to learn from the feedback. And to me, this is the important thing, and be able to act on it. So the technology is obviously important, and customer experience, as I alluded to earlier, this was a whole organisational wide improvement focus for the customer experience, and it doesn't necessarily sit within one team. Some areas naturally do it better than others, but we want improvement across the whole board. So an improvement, and when I talked about what you can do, is actually we've developed the last couple of years, since 2024, a better post-transaction CRM request, our customer request management. So getting post-survey data and having some sentiment analysis in that, and using that. We've received over 13,000 since we started that in July 24, and using that data to identify gaps, because it actually relates to service areas. So my key thing, and this is still work in progress for Inner West Council, but others, is to get that post-transaction survey data and use it, really make it the responsibility of service owners to really improve their services as a response to the rich data. You're getting live data that tells you about how their request was dealt with, and whether they were satisfied with the way we went about it. And I think that's important that we continually do that.
That's interesting. I just want to, I guess, another question for me is, as a leader of the council, Peter, does that come up to you for your kind of analysis at a whole level, or do you sort of see the detail in some of the stuff that floats up to you?
I'll get the higher level actions, but we have an annual business planning process, and I'm not going to say we've got the best process in the world, but through your business plans that everyone does, they're part of that process is to use the sentiment data and the post CRM survey data to help inform where you're going to do improvements in your service area, and come up with those actions every year. So I'll see the highlights that come out of the areas that we need to focus on. We look at it exec of key areas for improvement, and we've put those across the board with the digital solutions. But when it comes to those, some of the pain points are nitty-gritty process issues that need to be resolved and improved across the board, and make sure that we respond to that area. So I'll see the high levels and the annual improvement plans, but I'm hoping you don't have to wait for the exec to get involved. You empower the service unit owners to get in there and have that shift, and then as the data continues to come in, we can see improvements across service areas.
And it's like my last question for you. Why do you think if we just think about the average, why do you think the average has actually declined across the country? If you had to kind of point to it, have you got a sense of why that is, or is it about community expectations continuing to rise?
I suppose I don't want to say that I don't appreciate feedback across the board, but community expectations do. Trust in government has declined, and trust in organisations across the whole world, and there's a number of reasons for that. So I can see that some people, there might be a general sentiment across the community. I'm not saying that councils don't need to listen to it to improve, but that would be, I think there might be other broader things at stake of why things. I couldn't point myself to one thing that the industry's has done that's caused negativity with it. Like, we all work hard and we're all close to the community. I think that the nuance will be in individual councils that have gone up. We need to look at those ones that have done the best and try and emulate those improvements. Oh, thanks for that, Tony.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Peter. Tisha, I might go to you. I know that was a long kind of a few questions in one. But I guess maybe start with advice you'd have to the leaders who are listening on this call about, what you would recommend they do and focus on. And then I might just get into a couple other things as well.
Sure. So for us, my advice is that customer satisfaction is often viewed as a CSAT measure of your customer service, the frontline customer service. So you have to approach your business about being curious and not defensive about this is measuring the whole of the business. And sometimes we can hear things that we're not comfortable with, because we can be so involved in my branch does this bit, your department does that bit, And for the customer, that just makes no difference at all. And so the trick that we found we had to look at was how do we hide the complexity within internally. And we're very lucky in that we're a council that is allowed to, we have permission to try things. Did they work out? Did it not work out? What did we learn? And try something new again. So it's a constant learning journey of listening to what the customer's saying, coming in and listening to what the employees are saying and working out where are those pain points for both and making those changes. So being really open to hearing some things that aren't comfortable, but also understanding that the customer sees one council and the complexity internally is our problem, and we need to work out how to smooth that out for ourselves and for them. And so sometimes the traditional old excuses or justifications that we had just can't stack up if you're really going to be serious about your customer satisfaction and your customer experience journey, because it's a whole of business involved. It's not just the touch points, it's the whole experience in there. So curiosity and not defensiveness is the way I'd start.
And I think we've seen, you've talked about some of the great things Logan's done to improve your score this year, but why do you think on average the scores have come down a little bit? Have you got if you had to have a crack at that, what would you say?
I think it can't be just one thing. I think there's a lot of things going on in the world and in Australia right now. If we look at all levels of government, we look at all of the pain points that the community deal with. When we talk about they invite us into their homes, we really are part of everything that affects their ability to buy groceries. We deal with all of that minutiae with our community, and that could be one of the reasons that the world is just a little bit tougher this year than last year. It could be that people are learning to speak out a little bit more about what's actually going on. We could have done a really great job of saying to people, tell us how you're feeling, tell us what you think. And with that comes that new uncomfortable experience of what worked last year, what worked 2 years ago is not going to work for the next year. And so you have to keep moving with it. It's never going to be a set and forget as to what the community wants and what's going to make them satisfied. I think we just introduced a virtual agent onto our website, so we now have AI bots talking to you. And already I've received feedback in the last, been open for 2 days, that the Optus bot's better than this, that the Combat bot's better than this. And so you're being compared to really big commercial entities that set very high expectations with different budgets or different platforms.
I think, Chris, just before I get to you, I think there is definitely a gap. When we asked people in our post-SNAP survey about how the experience was, there's sort of 3, 4, even higher, and there is definitely a gap between the score they give in that and when we just ask them a survey question about how they feel in the council. I kind of feel like that's a bit of a lagging indicator, because I feel like councils like all of you and lots of others are really trying hard and doing a lot of work in that customer experience space. And I think there's probably a lag between the people who have interacted with you and had a great experience and those that just have the kind of the old style view of how councils are and how they work. And I think there's a huge, I talk about it as magic. If you can be walking down the street, you see a problem and you use Snaps and Solve, and then you hear back from the council and the problem gets fixed a few days later. Like, that's magic. That interaction doesn't happen anywhere. So I just think there's a bit of a time lag, and I think we'll see that improve.
Yeah,
Kristen?
I agree.
Look, I guess what I'd be saying, and it's not much different to what Peter and Tisha's been saying, is listen to your staff. I mean, the improvements that have come through from us have come from staff going, well, this is the bit where we've got a problem. This is what we think we can do about it. What do you reckon? And part of it is about allowing people to try stuff. And if it fails, it fails. But our philosophy is let it fail quick. So let's have a go. Let's see how it works. And, closing the communication loop was what our frontline people were telling us. That's our biggest issue. Can we just fix that? And we have, and it's made a difference. And for those staff, it's now empowered them and emboldened them to go, okay, the next problem we've got is this one. Can we go ahead and fix that, please? So for us, it's twofold. It's listening to our community. For us, it's measurement of our customer service requests. So one of the measurements we have that we publicly talk about is our compliance rate within our customer service charter, and we think that's about right. And, you know, we've seen an increase in our satisfaction because we've maintained a compliance rate of above 96% for 6 consecutive quarters. So we're starting to build that trust now with our community that that will happen. And it doesn't happen one quarter, it happens quarter on quarter on quarter on quarter. And sometimes it is about how do we improve it. But for me, the best place to understand that is our frontline staff who deal with it every day. They often have the answer. So we actually need to be listening to them because they will lead us to that solution.
Great. All right, that's been great. I might just see if there are some questions that we want to go through in the chat. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask Molly to put up some questions potentially that we can answer. Here we go. Look how cool this is. So there's one here from Amelia. How do you balance service consistency across the organisation? Kristen, why don't we stick with you?
Oh, look, that's a tough one. And again, we measure against the charter. So we can see consistently where it's happening and where it isn't. Our community is not backwards in telling us when we don't do things well. So it's pretty easy to tell if there's some inconsistency coming through. But more than anything, it's about being an organisation, much like the other councils here, that is committed to good customer service. And it's got to start from the top and it's got to go through every part of the organisation, because as soon as there's inconsistency, you will hear it from your customers pretty loud and clear. So for us, it's part of the mantra. The majority of people who work in this council live in this community and they see people and hear people every day, whether they're at work or not at work. And for us, if we want to do the right thing by our community, we have to be consistent in how we deliver services. So for us, it's a value, it's a way of doing, and that's how you maintain that consistency. If it's not a core value of how we deal with customers from the top, then you're always going to end up with inconsistency as it flows down.
Okay. Peter?
We make sure that we measure across the organisation of all the different service standards. Sometimes there's some areas of council that take longer to deal with requests, but it could be the nature of the request, like the bread and butter snap send solve requests. Miss bins are easy to do. So what we found with our customer experience strategy, some of the more complex things that require investigation and reporting and site visits to come back, it's about keeping the customer informed throughout that journey. So that was the thing that sort of fell out, that we needed to make sure that happens, and we do our best to bet that. So I suppose there's some areas that aren't going to be as responsive as others, but that's to the nature of the request. We just need to make sure that we keep going back to the customer. And, you know, there's reasons certain requests that are more complex than others. Keep the customer informed, speak them, pick up the phone, email them. If it's complex and it's taking a while, pick the phone up and talk to them. So we try and do that across the board. And look, if there are performance areas in an area that's not doing as well, we obviously lean into that and put some additional resources to make sure that we do so if there's improvements required for that area.
Yeah, thank you. Tisha?
So for us, we probably take the approach of there's equality and there's equity. So we know that there won't be equality in all of the service times. It takes 90 days to do something and 9 days to do something else. But the equity that we're looking for the experience across council is that we all make the same decisions, or the decisions in the same way, that we all have the same view of the customer and the customer journey, the staff and the staff journey, so that we all approach that. So no matter which team you're dealing with, you will be appraised in the same way. We will put the same outcome on all of it to say, what do we want to achieve for the customer? And there's an equity in that decision. So we're very lucky that we're encouraged to collaborate quite heavily between each of the general managers in council, and to be able to have those strong conversations about, I'm trying it this way, this person over here is doing that, have a look, we're dealing with the customer this way, and to really come together as a large group to deal with the equity of the customer experience across it. So the foundation of the values that we're dealing with them.
So in that, is there a framework, a sort of decision-making framework at the top of the council that guides that?
Yes, so ELT here, our exec are very strong in sending the message down as to what they want. It's probably still something that we're learning as general managers. You can imagine that the general manager for, hope none of them are listening while I pick on them, for art is probably not as interested as to what the general manager for roads is thinking. And so having those conversations, and we meet every month and we meet quite regularly individually to go through and talk about this is the effect that we're having on the customer, and this is how we need to tie through. So if something crosses across 4 different departments working together, we've seen some really great work done, particularly in our roads and our water and our park spaces, about how do we come together and deliver an equitable decision on how we're going to manage the customer in there. So is it written down? Probably not. Is it becoming culture? Absolutely.
Great. Terrific. Molly, we got any? Here we go. What's next when it comes to improving the customer experience at your council? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So we're on a jump off a cliff journey at the moment with what we're doing to improve customer experience. So we're very focused on channel of choice. So we are offering all of the channels that a customer would expect, and we're allowing people to choose which one they go with. And that has included the recent release of AI into our customer service. And as recent as we opened the bots on Friday, but we only opened chat a month before that. So we're being very ambitious in opening chat as a channel and then putting a bot over the top of that a few weeks later. So for us, how do we, the next future for us with the customer service and customer experience is how do we either remove ourselves from it and things still get done, and how do we make the experience really great? It's almost we're looking for zero customer service. If you can get it from the website, if you can get it from the bot, if we can push the information to you, then that's the ultimate journey that we're looking for the customer, that you don't actually need to think about us at all, except in a good way.
Great. There's another question there from Rowena. How do you see AI fit into the CX? And I think that's, you've answered that a little bit. I'm kind of proud that I haven't said AI very much at all this webinar. I feel like it's a relief. But Peter, I might cross to you to answer, what's coming next in terms of customer experience. I know we're working with your team on some really exciting things as well, but I'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah. So we're continually to use how we can refine sentiment analysis for our customer experience across service areas, and then as I said, I alluded to before, with that data, then be able to get the service unit owner. So I want to see improvements across the board in that. And in terms of, so really using that rich data, making those improvements. I suppose, and the other big thing is really trying to improve. We're working with our contact centre to try and look at how we can best support that with we only currently have SMS, email, phone. So seeing how we can integrate AI. We don't want to, I'm not going to say we're going to be at the forefront of it. We just want to take those steps slowly to make sure that we do it well across the board. The other thing I'm keen on, and I think a lot of customer experience comes with the interaction with individual officers, and it's also the knowledge management system. So when people come to our organisation to get consistency of customer service, there's really a good way that people can be up to speed to how we do things in Inner West and what are the service standards for the customer, so we provide better customer experience across the board. So I'd say the knowledge management system. So contact centre next.
Great. Kristen.
Look, for us, it's a consolidation piece. So we've just done that enterprise integration, and we've seen certainly a very significant increase in our satisfaction levels through that. So for us now is to stop and monitor that and work out, is it just communication or is it other things that are driving that? So we'll start digging into data as well, and we've got we've done a whole lot of work in AI in different spaces. We're a bit reticent about how that's going to work with us purely because we've got an older cohort that we're dealing with. But it is how much of that do you put in so that our younger cohort don't have to talk to a person if they never want to talk to a person, but our older people feel safe enough that they'll call and talk to us about what the concerns are, not afraid they'll get a bot in between. So for us, it's really about consolidation now. We've made some changes. We need to review what that data is telling us, review what our customers are telling us, and look at what is that next piece of efficiency and outcome for our people in our community.
Yeah. Okay, that is that's a lot of talking, and so I want to wrap it up there. I just wanted to say we're very grateful to have all of you on and being so generous with your time and talking honestly about what's happening at council. You all three of you are doing amazing work. I know that because I know we work with your teams closely. And like I said, I think the job of councils, you are the closest to the people, and you do a lot of stuff all the way from, maternity stuff to building roads and everything in between. So I know there's a lot to do, and I can see that you are all doing your best and making a lot of progress. So I just want to say thank you from all of us, and thank you for your time today, and have a great rest of the week, and I hope the weather continues to improve wherever you are.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we are going to make some of this stuff available. If you want your council's full breakdown, please scan that QR code, and we will get in touch with you and provide that detail you. Thank you for all your time, and have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks.